ladies and gentlemen, host of the Adam Schefter podcast, Adam Schefter.
Schefter. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hey,
happy Monday.
Hey, happy Monday to you as well. We were just ranting about the Colts and, forgetting to put the spotlight on Jacksonville Jags, which once again, congratulations. 11 straight wins over the Colts down there. Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco. How's this discussion go from your standpoint? Like, obviously, I don't know if you have inside information. I don't know if you've seen this situation brew before. How do you see this ending up for the Indianapolis Colts? Joey Flack is a dog. And obviously, to what he did for the Browns last year, you thought the market would be immense. For us, we're able to pay him like $4 million, and he is seemingly playing great football for us. How do you see it going there, Shefty?
Well, when he comes in, he delivers almost always, and he's got experience, he's got production. He's a guy that's valuable to have, and it's amazing that there weren't more teams interested in a guy like this. How do I see it playing out? I think that when Anthony Richardson's healthy, fully healthy, and they're comfortable, I think he goes back to the starting lineup. But it gives you an awful lot of peace, security, comfort to know that you have a quarterback in Joe Flacco that you could turn to. And if Richardson isn't fully right and they don't feel fully comfortable playing him yet, then they go back to Flacco again this week. We said yesterday on Sunday Countdown, the interesting part here will be, well, what happens if Joe Flacco comes on and plays well? And he did play well. Yeah. He played well. He was not the issue in that loss in my mind. And so he gives them time to make sure that Richardson is well before they have to bring him back.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to watch it all. And the Colts got a team. Hey, a lot of football left, Colts.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of football left. Speaking of a lot of football left, I think Jets fans aren't going to want to hear that after what took place yesterday. But did that expedite the Davante Adams to the New York Jets conversation, you think?
I don't think it expedited. I think it, if anything,
cooled it off.
Slowed it a little bit. Because here's the deal.
Davante said, I'm not going over there.
No. Look, in the end, ultimately, I still think Davante wants to go play for the Jets or the Saints. And I think ultimately, in the end, the Raiders figure out a way to work it out with the Jets or the Saints. It's been those two teams. I think it will consistently be those two teams. That doesn't preclude a team like the Bills or the Steelers or the Ravens from monitoring the situation just to see what else could happen. But you're going to need Davante Adams' cooperation if you're trading a second-round pick to that team to restructure his contract. He's going to want to have to be willing. So even though he doesn't have a no trade, he does have influence in this particular situation in the form of restructuring his contract for next year and beyond, because he's due like $36.25 million next year, non-guaranteed. There's not going to be a team out there next year that wants to pay Davante Adams $36.25 million non-guaranteed and carry him on that roster. So either you have to redo it with his help and cooperation, or you have to move on from him. So if you're going to give up, let's just call it a second-round pick, because the Raiders have been adamant that they get a 2, you're going to want some kind of assurance from Davante that he's going to be there beyond this year. And he's certainly going to be more apt to give that to an organization that he wants to be playing for and a quarterback that he knows well. And the two quarterbacks he knows well and wants to play with most of all are Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr.
So I thought it might have expedited it because Aaron threw the ball to Garrett Willis, I think 22 targets or something like that. And it was very evident, like, hey, this is who we're going to. And then Lazard, if I need to get the ball anywhere else. So you add another weapon in there. Do they wake up on this all-in year, seemingly, that they're all potentially on, whether that's because of the owner's choice or everybody else's choice in this entire thing?
In their all-in year, they lost last week to Denver, and they lost yesterday to Minnesota. And Aaron last week hurt his knee, and yesterday hurt his ankle. And there have to be people that say, okay, hold on. Do we want to now trade a second-round draft pick when we're not playing overly well right now? We're not reaching our potential. Do we think that a wide receiver is going to solve the issues that this team has been having? So I don't view that game and that result as making it more likely that the Jets would trade for him. I don't view that at all.
Okay, when do you think this all kind of happens? When do you think it comes to a head?
Anytime. Because Mark Davis is paying Davante Adams $970,000, almost $1 million for each week he's not playing. I don't think Mark Davis wants to do that. So ideally, you'd like to get this resolved. Now, again, you will need to see if the Raiders are willing to pay down any of the money that's due to Davante the remainder of the year, which my understanding is they have been declining to do that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to pay him any money that's owed. So that makes it tougher for a team like New Orleans to go trade for him because the Saints have just over $4 million in cap space. So you got to make something happen. The Jets have more cap space. They have the cap space that's needed, but there it is. Are we willing to allot all that cap space when you still have Hassan Reddick out there and maybe you might want him back? That's a question that the Jets have to answer. And ultimately, the owner's got to sign off on it. So there are questions with each that I think slow down the process a little in terms of who's absorbing all the financial responsibilities. Can you redo a contract with Davante? Can the sides agree on compensation? All that could happen very quickly, or it could drag a little bit. So,
anytime.
I mean, could it happen today? Sure. But again, they're going to have to pick up some speed and momentum to make it happen today.
Well, and we got Monday Night Football and Monday Night Raw tonight.
Come on.
So everybody's probably a little distracted.
Post bad blood.
Yeah, certainly the Raw came back on Saturday. Everybody's probably a little distracted. You know, we got to get back focused. Tuesday, the off day, everybody kind of focuses back in on what the future looks like. Speaking of the future, what's it look like in Pittsburgh? Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, Schefter, you watching and listening to the game last night as Sunday night turned into Monday morning. I was noticing more and more that Tirico and Collinsworth were talking about how this game was huge for Justin Fields potentially moving forward, being the starter, and and how it didn't go great last night. Is there a chance that Russ Wilson, as early as next week, could be the starter in Pittsburgh?
Well, Russell has been getting healthier and healthier, and I think he's now at the point where he is healthy enough to play. So that's going to be a Mike Tomlin decision. I think at some point in time here, it's not going to surprise me if they turn to Russell Wilson. I don't know whether that's next week or the week after. But Justin Fields, they've lost 2 straight games now, the Steelers have. And that's not all on Justin Fields at all.
No.
But they've lost 2. When you're winning every week, as they were the first few weeks of the season, you're not making a quarterback change. When you're losing, that opens the door to discussion and conversation about, is it worth it to go to a guy like Russell Wilson? And I just think that that's a conversation they're going to have. I don't know ultimately what they're going to do, but Russell's at the point now where he was considered the guy when they first traded him. Mike Tomlin anointed him as the starter. He hurt his calf. Justin took over and played well. They won. Now they've lost 2 in a row. Now Russell's healthier. So there are some elements at play here that I think lead to a discussion that I don't know ultimately what they'll decide to do, but I do think at some point in time Russell's going to get a chance.
Yeah, and I think after a 1:30 a.m. drive home from most Pittsburgh dads, and with how that thing ended last night, I think it would be received well at this time, just because they're calling for change for everything. And Tomlin understands how Yinzers operate. He understands how passionate the football fans are. He understands how to navigate this situation, but not a bad time potentially to go to Russell. And if he starts winning, holy hell, we're back.
Oh.
And those towels are twirling yet again in Pittsburgh.
Look, they want to be able to run the football. They want to be able to play good defense, and they want to make sure that they don't turn over the football. That's what they want to make sure they do. So if they feel like Russell is going to give them a chance to do that, then maybe you see that change sooner rather than later.
Let's stay in the AFC North. D-Butch got a question for you.
Yeah, no QB questions here. Had a great game between the Ravens and the Bengals yesterday. Bengals are obviously struggling. It's not Joe Burrow's fault. Jamar Chase, on the other side of that, with Joe Burrow, had an unbelievable game against the Ravens once again. Are the contracts talk with him dead for the rest of the season and we'll pick up in the offseason, or what's going on with Jamar Chase?
My understanding was that deal was not getting done this year, that both sides basically had moved on, that Jamar had accepted the fact that the deal wouldn't get done at the level that he wanted it to get done at this season. I think he would like to be there. He said that. I think the Bengals would like to keep him there. They've said that. But they're apart in their respective stances. And so unless somebody changes their stance, I don't see it getting done. And I see that deal being revisited with talks reopened this offseason. Look, here's the thing. Jamar Chase isn't going anywhere. You see the numbers yesterday, 10, 193, 2 touchdowns, always open, correct. And the guy with the ball in his hands is magic. So they're going to get a deal done with this guy. He's not going anywhere. The price isn't going down on him. But they didn't get it done. He took out an insurance policy on the season. They'll revisit this after the year, and they'll figure this out eventually. But it doesn't sound like it's happening in season.
Insurance policy, smart. I had a Lloyd's of London whenever I was franchise tagged. They got me for 60 grand. I would have had to lose a leg to get the 20 million.
Literally.
It would, I would have literally on the practice field would have had to lose a leg to do it. So I'm excited to see what Jamar Chase's insurance policy is for. Is that for like 50 million, 100 million, 200 million?
Oof.
What is that?
Oh, I think it's tens of millions. I was
50.
told it was 50. Then someone called. They're like, that can't be right. I'm like, well, that's what I was told. It was a $50 million policy.
That costs so much. The insurance.
Let's put it this way. He has a insurance policy for a significant amount of money taken out, whatever that is. Millions.
Smart. People say I have an insurance policy out on that field goal kicking contest. I don't, and those are big checks. Congrats to Daniel.
What a moment
this
weekend.
weekend.
Congrats to Daniel.
That was a great moment. And by the way, like anytime anybody has a team that's struggling with its kicker, they're volunteering your guy from game day there to take over. Here it is. Like, guy stepped up, very clutch, the excitement and energy in the air. That's an awesome kick. And you just see how much it means. Like, look, Pat, you're there. You tell me. You're fired up. He's
awesome.
fired up. Everybody's fired up. It's great.
It was magical, man. It was, that's right in the heart of campus there, too. The Campanile there, the bell tower, is a massive piece of it all. It's a part of the photos that you see of Cal Berkeley. And Daniel Villasenor, his first kick, he missed his first kick, but I heard a thud. I heard the thud whenever his foot hit the ball, and I was like, wait a minute. I think we could potentially, and he did. He stepped up. He was locked in, too, which I was so incredibly thankful for. And then for the $100,000 extra on top of the hurricane relief donation, it's like, I think he genuinely was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. And I appreciate him. I appreciate all of Berkeley for how they treated our show and how they treated us. That was a magical Saturday morning, man. That was a magical Saturday morning. And Daniel was a huge piece of that. Shout out to Vans. I think Vans is going to donate another $100,000 to hurricane relief. And I think they're giving him free shoes. I believe they're giving him, I don't know if it's lifetime supply of shoes or whatever, but Vans is also going to donate. It's like,
awesome.
What a massive morning in Berkeley to take care of people all the way on the opposite side of the country, and then to come together and celebrate football. It's like, that's what it's all about, Schefty. I saw you posted. I appreciate you doing that, man. That was very kind.
Yeah, I saw it. Like, there are certain things that resonate, right? And when somebody does something like that for the greater good, and you see how much genuine emotion. Look at Herbie there. Herbie's all excited, right? You think,
sure.
It was a very cool moment, and kudos to all who were involved.
Okay, and I would like to point out another thing too here. You got phones on the left side, right? Mm-hmm. But look at everybody else. That's 2 hands up. Everybody else in the crowd. No phones. It was like everybody kind of in the moment too, down the side and everything like that. Herbie, like I told him after I saw this photo, and we were talking about just like how lucky we were to be a part of that moment. Like it was so awesome. And Daniel, what a huge kick, brother. That's uphill, too. That shit was uphill. So that's higher. That's not a normal upright. No. That was a higher upright in this entire thing. But it's like Kirk Herbstreit's pure joy right there. How often does that happen? And it's like, what a cool moment. Just a very, very cool moment. Yeah, thank you for showing love on that. Anyways, so Chase's money, Jamar Chase, we get back to it. He had the insurance on his body for this particular season. He goes bananas the last few weeks. T. Higgins went crazy as well. He's on a franchise tag, just a one-year deal. The future of the Bengals certainly interesting. The current of the Bengals also interesting. Joey Burrow saying we're not a championship team right now. Oof. They're 1-4. They're slow starters notoriously. But with what the AFC's doing, Ravens, Texans, Chiefs are still undefeated. You worry about the Joey Flacco-led Colts potentially getting in there. But nonetheless, it is the season slipping away. Let's stay in the AFC North. One more. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Schefter, just to round it out here, the Browns just look like a shit show every week, and it's not getting any better. Both just the body language on the field and then obviously the results at the end of the game. What is kind of the vibes coming out of Cleveland, and are we going to see any big names moved from their team? Are they going to be selling anybody, especially because of the future cap hits with how big Deshaun Watson's contract is?
Well, they are struggling, and it just feels like when you watch them, everything's a battle. Like nothing really comes easy. And if that continues, then I would think that they would look to move parts. Like they are always an ultra aggressive team, and they're always looking to make moves. And so I think of the name of Amari Cooper. If you can't get it together and you can't get it straightened out, why would you not trade Amari Cooper to some contender? Like people talking about Dallas going after Davante Adams. Like, Amari Cooper would make some sense there too as well when Dallas isn't going after a guy like Davante Adams. And Dallas can't afford him. They can't afford Derrick Henry. I don't know if they could afford Amari Cooper, but Amari Cooper would be a guy that I would be watching if they keep losing. And I think Cleveland's always looking to make moves. Always.
You bringing up the Cowboys not being able to afford Derrick Henry after what Derrick Henry has done is a nice little subtle shot from you. You know, I do appreciate when Shefty decides
it's not
to
a shot. No. I'm using
just a
the
reminder.
Word that they used.
Just a reminder.
They said that they can't afford him. I didn't say it. I'm using the exact words that they use.
Yeah,
they
big win in
him.
Pittsburgh last night or this morning, depending upon what time zone you're in. And just a reminder, what Derrick Henry's doing could be doing for you guys. You know, could be doing for you guys. I appreciate that. Amari Cooper on the move. Maybe he comes to Colts. You know?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Why, Davante Adams maybe comes to the Colts.
They play DB?
Yeah, well, we'll figure that out too. We got a lot of weeks. Let's go to a team that just got a massive win over the Rams. The Green Bay Packers had a little situation pop up out of nowhere. Bruce has a question for you.
Yeah, Schefter, Romeo Doubs suspended this week. I saw reports that he missed practice. Do you have any insight there, and is this going to be a problem moving forward for the Packers and Romeo?
I think this is a really interesting situation for a few reasons. Number one, he was there Wednesday and then didn't show up to work Thursday or Friday. And the team goes out to L.A. on Saturday when they announce his suspension, 1-game suspension for conduct detrimental to
What do you mean he wasn't there? He just didn't show up? He just didn't show up at work?
Didn't show up at work.
In Green Bay, there's like, what, 2,000 people there. Did anybody see him? Nobody knew?
Was he on a heater at the casino?
Maybe he was.
Yeah.
It's a great casino over there.
Right?
He wasn't there and didn't show up, and they took the step to suspend him. Now, they said we look forward to welcoming him back this week, and he'll be a part of the rotation. And look, they were missing Watson, so they certainly needed Doubs. Didn't have him yesterday. They were able to come through and win. But I'm not saying this is the reason there, but I do think in speaking to some people this weekend, here's what came up. It's interesting. In today's day and age, in the world we live in, there's so much discussion about targets and how many targets each receiver gets and fantasy football production with fans sounding off. And let's also remember how much money is going to wide receivers so that when there are certain wide receivers that don't get their targets, they know that that could be costing them money, and everybody reacts differently. And obviously, Romeo Doubs, for whatever reason, decided to stay away for a couple of days. Don't know that he was particularly thrilled with the number of passes that went his way. And when you're talking about targets, you're talking about money. So I just think that's part of the world we're living in right now, where that's an issue with a few more players than we probably realize. And I'm just saying that may have been an issue. Certainly people have brought that to my attention over the weekend, and they do think that he'll be back this week, and hopefully he's more content and happy with the targets he does get.
Okay, so targets are opportunities, obviously, is how it's being framed or painted whenever you look at it. And I'm not getting as many opportunities as everybody else on this team. Does that mean the quarterback doesn't like me? Does that mean the play caller doesn't like me? Well, play caller is actually head coach. So then he just gets pissed off and says, I'm not coming to work. That's a wild, this week 5.
Yeah, it's
going into week 5.
And Love missed a few weeks too, so it wasn't like he was out there with Love for 5 weeks just not getting.
Malik Willis not throwing him the damn ball.
I mean, this is tough, and this was something that we kind of praised last year with the Packers. Like, hey, no number one wide receivers, everybody's running routes, everybody's getting open, everybody's happy. But to your point, what is he, year 2 or 3? 2? 3?
3 now.
Okay, so yeah,
Rodgers.
this is pretty much a contract year for him, not being a first round pick, but yeah, that's interesting. I'm interested to see what else continues to come from this, because these are obviously humans you're dealing with, so you don't know what else he may have been dealing with away from the field, but I'm interested.
Exactly. We hope he's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
We hope everything's okay, obviously.
Get back out there and
we hope he's
be
only pissed about football stuff, because although it is petty and wild to do this before week 5, especially with Malik Willis and how the offense was running at those particular times, we hope it isn't something bigger.
For sure.
Where there's a lot of shit going on. Tony, you have some stats?
Now, he did miss yesterday's game, but he's 4th on the team in targets, and that's with Christian Watson being out.
I'll tell you what, Kraft.
He was 1 last year. He definitely got the most targets.
Tucker Kraft came in and said, you throw me the ball whenever the hell you want.
But it's not. It's
this
not
guy went bonkers.
Yes, he did.
You're talking about, I did not have him in a convo about tight ends being unstoppable.
See ya.
He was so fast, explosive, and his moxie, insane. Look at this little quiet, little snoop around there. Let's go. I'm hiding in his zone. Go ahead.
You know what? I remember people telling me about Tucker Kraft last season that this guy is he is a football player, like in the Mark Bavaro, Jason Witten mold. And then right before their season began, I had some people in the organization tell me about Tucker Kraft. This guy was the real deal. And by the way, like Luke Musgrave's targets went down right away. His playtime went down right away. And I think a lot of that had to do with how good Tucker Kraft is, which I think people began to realize and recognize yesterday with that breakout performance.
Huge. Look like Kittle a little bit. Speaking of Kittle, let's go to San Francisco. Conman's got a question for you.
Yeah, Schefter, we all know that you're plugged in with San Fran. Is there any panic going on over there on the West Coast?
Everywhere you're plugged in.
Yeah, of course, everywhere, but San Fran especially. Obviously, Seattle loses and, the Rams lose. So in the division, not as big of a deal with San Fran, even though they lost to the Cardinals. But is there any sort of panic, or is this kind of one of those games where if they have Jake Moody, they think they still win?
Well, for the record, I am plugged in, right there.
Oh! Gimmicks, Carrot Top! All right, I'm joking.
Look,
shut up, Carrot.
the thing that the Niners have going in their direction right now is that nobody seems to be running away with that division. Seattle loses yesterday at home to the Giants. Arizona comes in to San Francisco and wins. And San Francisco, they blew a lead against the Rams. They blew a lead yesterday. They haven't taken care of what they need to. They haven't been able to close. And again, we just go back to the end of last year, the Super Bowl hangover. I always think that's a real deal. You got guys holding out, guys holding in. You got an injury to your most valuable offensive player. He's still not out there. There are a whole host of factors as to why they're struggling. It doesn't explain blowing leads in those games. And they're still within reach of making noise in that division. But again, the vibes have been bad all offseason. And every time you think that, okay, they're turning a corner. Okay, Ayuk and Trent Williams get signed. They come in, and then they don't forge ahead. And then they win last week. They win last week a game against New England and look impressive, and then take the lead and then don't close. Yesterday, Mason has the fumble in the red zone. Kyler comes on, throws this rainbow to Marvin Harrison, who makes a great play on that particular play when the Niners are coming after him. And now they get a short week, Thursday night in Seattle. Week after, the defending champion Chiefs. The week after, the Cowboys. Then a bye, then the Bucs. Like the schedule, they are about to head into the teeth of their schedule. And that's why basically giving away 2 games that they had control of, I think, has to really hurt them. But 2-3, still within reach. Need to get your guys back. Need to get refocused. Long season, but not going the way that they or anybody would want it.
Niners 2-3. Okay, let's read off some other teams that are 2-3. Okay, just so this is who the San Francisco 49ers record is the exact same as after week 5 of football. The New York Jets are 2-3. The Raiders are 2-3. The Colts are 2-3, but we're looking up, obviously. The New York Football Giants are 2-3.
Hell yeah.
The Dolphins are 2-3, and the San Francisco 49ers are 2-3. It's been a wild NFL season thus far. Let's look ahead to tonight, shall we? Big one: Saints, Chiefs. Taylor Swift in attendance from what we...
What?
I don't know.
Really?
We are hoping.
I hope so.
We
She better be there.
Hope so.
Monday Night Football.
For the good of these conversations that are happening everywhere, okay, I don't like it at all. Okay, I love love. I love that 2 greats can fall in love and amazing things can happen for all of society. And I hope it happens tonight. I hope Taylor Swift effect and aura is there, because Monday Night Football, a game of this magnitude, certainly getting heightened even more by her presence would be great. Anything we should be looking at tonight as New Orleans travels to the home of the Chiefs? Shefty.
Yeah, well, and a couple of things we're looking at here. I think this is the first game where the Chiefs have had to game plan without Pacheco and Rashee Rice. So it'll be interesting to see how Andy attacks this. That'll be notable. Like, who are they getting involved? Who's stepping up? Who's going to replace all that production that they've lost from all these particular players? That, to me, is going to be really interesting to see how that evolves tonight. Obviously, you got the Saints in on Davante Adams. Don't believe that Davante Adams is going to wind up in Kansas City, though I think the Chiefs are going to be in the market for a wide receiver, especially depending on what happens with Rashee Rice's knee procedure today, where they're going to go into the knee to determine exactly how much damage is there and how long he's sidelined and whether there's any chance he can make it back later this season, which would be a huge win for Rashee Rice, for the Chiefs, for that organization, if there's any way he could make it back, which they'll know after today's procedure. So you got two teams here that both need a win. A lot of question marks for both teams. Should be a great game tonight. Looking forward to seeing how it works out.
Okay, can we talk a little bit more about the Rashee Rice procedure that's happening today? They're going in to snoop around, or they're going in to clean something up and then figure out what else is happening? And then should we have an answer tomorrow then, I guess? Is that what everybody's kind of expecting?
It's a little bit ambiguous, but what I do know, the best I can tell, is he's having a knee procedure done, like an arthroscopic surgery, so that they could go in, because I think there have been some differing opinions on the extent of the damage, and they can't exactly tell. So doctors are going in today to the knee to figure out exactly what it is, because I think different doctors have seen different things from different images. So once they go into the knee, okay, so that's what it is. Then they can tell, and they could say, oh, okay, it's a torn ACL. It's not a torn ACL. Oh, there's this damage or there's not that damage. Yes, it's 6 to 8 weeks, or it's 6 to 8 months. They have to go in there to really get a better picture. So they're doing that today, is the way I understand it.
So are all the doctors in there today then, all looking at it at the same time?
No, there's a doctor that's doing the surgery. And again, I'm not a doctor. It's hard to be.
No, I agree. But if you're one doctor saying one thing and then you have another doctor saying another thing, you would assume, just human nature, doctors probably aren't left out of this conversation. Whoever's going in there is probably trying to see if they're, I don't know. What the hell?
I think when you go in there, I think it becomes fairly obvious what the damage is or isn't.
And then the doctor that was on the other side, I told you.
Just like a mother.
I told you.
They've trusted one doctor to do the surgery.
Okay.
And to make the determination about what ultimately is in that knee. And I think everybody's hoping that it's not terrible, that he can make it back this season, and we'll know later on today, I expect.
Because your tweet saying the extent of the injury, we won't find out till next week, was fascinating. And you even said, normally we hear immediately what it is.
Right away.
So now, okay, so there's a little differing of opinion. They're going in today to see who was right, who was wrong. We'll find out relatively soon then, it sounds like. Okay.
I would think there'll be some sort of determination made today, certainly by tomorrow.
Thank you, Schefter. You're the man. You're on TV tonight? Where you guys didn't travel?
Oh, I'm doing it from home tonight, and I have to travel tomorrow, so I'll be broadcasting tonight, but do a Monday Night Countdown from my home, and it works out. It's nice to have a home game every now and then, Pat.
Yeah, you're plugged in over here. We get it.
Plugged in. We always try to be plugged in. Always.
How many phones? Just one?
We got two, side by side.
In a portable charger.
Which one are we a part of? You think we're business?
You're a part of every phone. You're a part of my heart. You're part of my life. You're part of everything I could possibly have. You're part of my being.